Hello and welcome in to another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX about your first place Arizona Diamondbacks. That feels weird to say.
They're tied for first place.
See? I told you he's the worst.
Padres
I've tried to tell you
did
guys for a long time he's the worst, and you wouldn't listen to me, but here he is being the worst. Welcome in.
They were in first place for a hot second. Sole possession of first place last night because the Padres had a night game and the Padres ultimately won. And then
this is why we can't have anything nice on this show, Jesse. This is why we can never have anything nice. Of course, I'm Derek Montia, occasionally known as the positive one around here. He's the negative one. It's Jesse Friedman.
You're just gonna do that to me?
Throwing you right now. Just going right into it because how dare you besmirch the good name of the first place Arizona Diamondbacks. The hype is real. This team, we don't know if they're for real, but it feels very real right now. And it feels like it might only get realer around this place because the Diamondbacks do really feel like they have a lot of things rolling in the right direction right now. The offense seems really good. However, they do run into a very, very tough Milwaukee Brewers team here coming up.
Yeah.
And honestly, if we could talk about it for a second before we get into things, the rest of the schedule, it seems very difficult for the month of April. And it's just not the stretch against the Dodgers. They still have more games against the Padres, the St. Louis Cardinals, Brewers. Some of the teams that they're playing, they've even the easier teams like what we thought about when we would see these Milwaukee Brewers, they're playing very good baseball. So now it's not just such an easy series to look forward to.
Yeah. The Brewers are playing really, really well so far. I believe they're 7-2 to start the season. That's pretty darn good way to get the season going. That series coming up against the Cardinals is another one I've had circled for a while.
For sure.
The Diamondbacks do not have a great history in that ballpark. I believe the Diamondbacks have a lower win percentage in franchise history against the Cardinals than against any other team. It's like 38% or something like that. They do not play well against the St. Louis Cardinals.
And that's the reason.
This is the year to change that, right, Derek? You're beating the Dodgers. You're 5-3 against the Dodgers.
Right.
So who knows?
And the difficulty of the schedule is the reason why I put out a tweet saying that I would dye my hair like Lourdes Gurriel's should the Arizona Diamondbacks have a winning record after the month of April. Now, I'm not going to say I have hair like Gurriel, but I kind of got like, I can get something going on here with sticking it up in there. Once we get this purple, we'll see what we can get going.
You're not allowed to wear so many hats.
I won't wear a hat. I will go hatless for the month of May. How about that? I will up the ante here because a lot of you think I'm going to get out on this deal and I'm not. I just have a very tough time believing with the schedule ahead of them that the Diamondbacks are going to be above 500 after this month. However, once again, another however, they have surprised me already, right? This team, the excitement is palpable around this team.
It really is.
And I have not really felt this kind of energy in a long time. You know, it's like other teams maybe have their ups and downs where some years they might just get a little bit more excited and then the team kind of comes back down to earth. I don't remember a D-backs team that was this exciting early on, except maybe after the wild card year, like the next year, the excitement level that we were going to continue on that kind of upward trajectory seemed like it was a very exciting year. And then the team wasn't very good. So then it kind of,
they were good. They were good until September rolled around. And then they were very not good in 2018. Yeah, in 2018, the Diamondbacks opened the year against the Rockies. They won 2 out of 3. And then they had a 3-game series at home against the Dodgers.
Which they swept. Yep.
They swept the Dodgers at home. Started the year 5-1. Then they took 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals. They took 2 out of 3 from the Giants. They took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. They literally won every single series they played.
In the month of April, right?
Up until April 30th to May 3rd. They had a 4-gamer against the Dodgers that they split. Before that, the 2018 Diamondbacks literally won every single series that they played to start the season. That's the last time. And not to say the D-backs are at that point, right? It's only 10 games. But that's the last time where I feel like there's been this level of excitement once you got more than 2 or 3 games into the season.
Zach Godley was very good for that team. Patrick Corbin was very good for that team, especially early on in that season.
Patrick Corbin in 2018, man.
He had the dog in him.
Yeah.
Had the dog in him.
Those walk years. There's something about those walk years.
Yeah, it's something.
Brings out the best in you,
However, though, we did get one question. I know it's Monday and we'll get to the mailbag, but our friend Brandon sent us this tweet. And of course, I just had to address this because what should Captain Caveman's punishment be if and when he backpedals on his Gurriel hair claim? And then he put mayor in quotes, which I hate that. I will not back out on this. Should the Arizona Diamondbacks have that winning record, Jesse? My wife is already set and prepared to dye my hair. She actually seems more excited about it than she should be. I think it might happen.
Oh, yeah.
I think it might happen regardless. I don't know, though.
Yeah, no. From what you've told me about your wife's reaction to this, I don't think there's any way you're getting out of this.
No, not at all.
It doesn't matter
Not at
what
all.
the Diamondbacks record is at the end of the month. Once you get your wife's hopes up about dyeing your hair purple, I mean, I'm not a married man myself, but my sense of the situation is that you are going to have your hair dyed purple.
She keeps asking me what the record is. I'm like, I already told you. They haven't played a game since yesterday. She's like, I just want to see if they won more games, So
have you picked a shade of purple?
It's got to be the same. Maybe I'm gonna have to coordinate with Lourdes because it's got to be that same shade of purple he's got going on. I don't know if you've seen the shade of purple he has, but it's a very good shade of purple.
What if you made it purple and teal?
It's a very Diamondbacks purple. It really is.
It is a Diamondbacks
very Diamondbacks purple. But teal too.
Yeah, you should get some teal in there, Derek.
We'll see what we can make happen. But I'll tell you this much: the Arizona Diamondbacks are making some things happen. They might not be moving up in the power rankings for some websites, but they are making some noise, and I like that they're also sticking up for themselves when it comes to these power rankings. Jesse, can we get a shot of their response to MLB.com still having the Arizona Diamondbacks ranked 20th after the first week? Oh, God, that picture of Nick is incredible. Oh, my God.
It's actually a GIF. We had to do a still shot for the show.
But the still shot's even better.
Yeah, the still shot might be better than the GIF was. But yeah, just for context, MLB.com is the Diamondbacks 20th, as you said. They have the San Diego Padres 5th, and they have the Los Angeles Dodgers, who, if I'm not mistaken, the Diamondbacks just took 3 out of 4 games from. Yes. They still have the Dodgers 3rd overall in their power rankings. And as you can see here, the D-backs on Twitter did not take to that very nicely.
I like it. Jab back. I want to see this. I want more of this. I want more of this spiciness. The Diamondbacks deserve respect, and they should demand it. And that's all I'm saying. But they're not the only ones that have the Diamondbacks. Some other websites actually have the Diamondbacks ranked much higher than 20th, and we were kind of surprised.
Well, one of them in particular. Yeah, we'll get there. So the Athletic has the Diamondbacks 17th. They have the Padres 3rd and the Dodgers 5th. So they have the kind of the same thing, but flipped around there from MLB.com. CBS has the Diamondbacks ranked 15th.
I feel like they're
in the middle.
They're the most fair. I feel like if I'm looking at CBS, I feel like CBS didn't get too, reactionary, but they also did take into account what we've seen early this season and have adjusted things. I imagine the Dodgers were much higher on their power ranking before losing essentially 3 out of 4 to the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And what was it? What is it? I believe it is 6 out of 8.
5 out of
8. My math is bad. Yeah. He's the math teacher, but 5 out of 8. So they should be ranked a little bit closer to the Dodgers. They have the Dodgers down to 10th and the Padres at 4th.
Yeah, I can understand where they're coming from on that. And you made a good point about how power rankings, you have to strike this balance, right? Power rankings aren't the same thing as the standings.
Correct.
Right? Just because a team just won a series or something from another team doesn't mean they have to be ranked higher than them, right? That would be a little ridiculous. So looking at these things, we're not necessarily saying that, justice would be the Diamondbacks being ranked higher than the Dodgers or, even with the Padres. Well, I'm not saying that. Maybe Derek is.
Maybe Barstool Sports is saying
Barstool Sports. They got pretty close. Barstool Sports has the Diamondbacks ranked 9th.
Yeah.
After a 6-4 start to the season. They have the Padres 6th. They only showed the top 9, at least that we could see. They don't even have the Dodgers in the top 9.
Now, we discussed this looking at that. Barstool had the most controversial power rankings, but it also
they have the most controversial a lot of things.
Yeah, of course. That's what they do. That's what they do over there. But it felt very much like they were trying to just rank how the teams did in week 2. So it seemed like the way that they were doing power rankings maybe wasn't right, but was different. More of basing it on the performance from week 2. And if you are doing that, then I do believe that's fair for the Diamondbacks because they've had a pretty damn good week. And I know that they split the series with the Padres, and I know I keep bringing this up, but that really felt like that could have been a 2-game sweep of the Padres. It really did. They were this close to making that happen. And I don't hate that it didn't go their way, considering that now that they have that fire in their blood to make sure when they meet these Padres later this month that they get that back.
Yeah, they have a 4-gamer against the Padres, I think, a couple weekends from now. So, yeah, if you're sick of the Dodgers, you're probably going to be sick of the Padres pretty soon here too.
If you're sick of the Dodgers, I have good news for you, though. We don't see them again until August 8th, I believe. It's August 8th is the next time we play the Dodgers.
I think
wonderful.
Some people, though, might even be kind of sad about that.
Yeah, it's like beating them up.
Yeah. I mean, it's like normally you don't want to play the Dodgers because they're kind of, Diamondbacks have not played well against the Dodgers whatsoever of late. It's right 10-38 or something over the last 3 years coming into this season. But when you kind of feel like you have the Dodgers number, then it's like, oh, I could get used to this, right?
Let's get some more of that in here, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the sense that you get from the D-backs clubhouse and what some of the guys were saying after the game yesterday. Josh Rojas in particular talked about how this was the first time that he's ever remembers playing a series against the Dodgers where they could feel the pressure. Yeah. And he said they couldn't do anything about it. Like it was just the D-backs were constantly, leaving the Dodgers in difficult situations, especially with their run game. And the Dodgers just had no answer for it, right? And D-backs in particular, they're base running, right? These guys are just too fast. You can't just, suddenly make Corbin Carroll slower, right? Catching him on the bases or any of these other guys on the bases is a lot harder than it might seem. So, I think it was a big thing just for the clubhouse and just some of these guys to kind of feel what it feels like to actually perform well against the Dodgers.
And even though it's maybe not likely, but it could still happen, the Dodgers might have Walker Buehler back by the next time the Diamondbacks face them. So again, that's another reason.
Probably not likely. Yeah.
Not likely. But
I think it's more like he could maybe come back for the playoffs as a reliever or something. I've heard some people suspect that, but I don't think he's going to be in their rotation in August or anything.
And I think that's a big factor that not a lot of people talk about. Both Walker Buehler and Tony Gonsolin being currently out. The Diamondbacks didn't catch Julio Urias this time around like they did in the first time in LA. So there was a bit of things that went the Diamondbacks' way. However, they kick that ass. And I mean, that's something that not only is going to be a confidence builder for the next time that they play the Dodgers, for them to believe that they can, it's got to be a kickstart to this offense going forward, which they're going to really need in the series against Milwaukee, because like we said, the Brewers have been very, very good. And meanwhile, the Diamondbacks still do not have a starter named for Wednesday because what's going on with that, Jesse?
Well, we don't know.
We'll
see if we can find out today. We talked about it a little bit in our show yesterday. Madison Bumgarner is lined up for that spot.
On ESPN, I believe he is listed as the problem.
Yeah, right. ESPN just kind of goes out and just follows the pattern.
They do what they do.
And they do what they do. But yeah, it's possible that Drey Jameson could be used in that game. So I think that's my guess as to what the pause is here. Jameson made his last appearance on Friday, so he would be on a normal starter's rest if he were to start that game on Wednesday. He's not going to be able to go very long. We might talk about that more. I think someone might ask a question about that.
For sure.
But yeah, it's possible they could at least have him start that game, and then maybe it's Peter Solomon or someone ready to go behind him to make sure they're able to get the length that they need.
Any concerns about Peter Solomon after what you saw in the first game against the Dodgers?
He wasn't great. It wasn't great. I think Torey Lovullo wanted to give him a soft landing and just put him in. I think it was an 11-3 game at the time, so no real risk there or anything for him. But yeah, he didn't pitch particularly well. Command is something that has generally been a strength for him, and it wasn't in that game yesterday. I think he had like 3 walks or something like that in those 2 innings. So just one outing. I'm not too concerned at this point. But if you're expecting Peter Solomon to come in and be Drey Jameson, which that's kind of the role that it looks like he's taking, that's probably not the case, right? I mean, Peter Solomon had a decent prospect status as of a couple years ago with the Houston Astros organization, but he's kind of fallen off that a little bit since.
I want to see Bryce Jarvis. I know he's still far off.
Far off.
Bryce Jarvis had excellent spring.
He had an outstanding spring. I don't think he had an outstanding first start of the year.
No, he did not. He did not. But I think maybe a relief role might be at a major league level, might be in his future.
Yeah, it's possible.
I don't know though. But Definitely don't want to see Brandon Pfaadt in that role. I don't really want to see Drey Jameson in that role. I'm glad he's getting this opportunity, and we have lots of questions about how that's going to impact both Drey and the bullpen. Of course, if you guys haven't done so already, we implore you to check out the BetMGM app. It is our new partner, and of course, we are thrilled about partnering together with them. It is our favorite place to place our bets. And of course, we have the BetMGM Sportsbook over at State Farm Stadium, where we will be having all sorts of events, including a monthly cornhole league. We're going to have meetups. Cardinals, once Cardinals season gets started, that place is going to be popping, and we will be out there all the time. So make sure to join us out there. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use our bonus code of PHNX, and you will get up to $200 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app, sign up using bonus code PHNX, place a pregame moneyline wager in the amount of at least $10 on any market standard odds price. You will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Just make sure you use bonus code PHNX when you sign up. And now, here is Shane Diefenbach with the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
And let me tell you, I'm jealous because our guys, Bo and Johnny, are going to be out there at that BetMGM Sportsbook to do their show. And they are going to have quite the view there in the background of State Farm Stadium and all the people having a great time on the great lawn tailgating. So make sure to join them once this season starts for those live shows out there. But you know what we do around here. Every single week on this damn show is Shark Week. You know that. Every day on this show is Earth Day because we recycle. And every Monday, we go to the mailbag. Damon, let's go!
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox. And then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow. My
mailbox. Gabe, who was it? Ryan asked, is this a king snake bobblehead? It might be. This might be our King Snake Award.
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. It literally looks like in the graphic of the King Snake graphic, it looks like it's wrapped around his neck, just like the graphic.
Just perfectly like that. Look at that guy. This is from our friends at FOCO. Shout out to FOCO for making incredible, all sorts of incredible merchandise. But we're here in the mailbag, and we got lots of questions. So let's go, Damon. We don't got time. What else we got? Harley asks, assuming the team are buyers at the deadline, what's the likeliest area they address? Does the team standing at the time determine if they make a big move, or is that on the table regardless? Sorry for the two-parter. Never be sorry for a two-parter, Harley, ever. And first, what's the likeliest area they address? Let's start with that one.
Well, this is a boring answer, but it's always the bullpen, right? It almost doesn't matter how good the Diamondbacks bullpen has looked early on or continues to look during the season.
Needs to get better.
Every potential playoff team has room for improvement in that area. Yeah. And I think the Diamondbacks in particular, although I have liked some things that I've seen back there, Miguel Castro and Andrew Chafin in particular have looked good. Scott McGough has been, a little bit shaky. Kyle Nelson has looked good, doesn't have a whole lot of major league experience. We'll see what Joe Mantiply looks like when he gets back. He had a bit of a rough second half last year. So you can always use reinforcements in that area.
I don't disagree with that at all, because especially the loss of Corbin Martin, and I know you guys are going to hate me saying this, but Mark Melancon and now Cole Sulser, both of those guys are going to be on the 60-day IL. So they've lost Sulser and Melancon for a considerable amount of time. Right. They've lost Corbin Martin for the entire year. So these are big losses for this team, and I really do think that the need to now move Drey Jameson up to the starting rotation is going to impact that bullpen. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a move there and prioritize that, especially considering that this team still has nightmares about how bad the bullpen was last year and the impact that it had on this team. I mean, I can't imagine being Mike Hazen and thinking about how 10 games last year really did make the difference, and you can find so many losses specifically in that bullpen. Can't beat yourself up about it, but at the same time, it does feel like maybe had you made some more moves to make that pen better, that might not have been the result of last season, right? And then again, you talk about the team that got in last making it to the World Series, and I know the Diamondbacks aren't the Phillies, but let's just say if you can get into the playoffs, anything can happen, and to miss it by that by that margin with the bullpen being as bad as it was, is probably something that they're going to address still. I also think maybe starting pitching with the way things have been.
Yeah,
if
possible.
If an opportunity comes up for them to get a big name starting pitcher from a team that's kind of like, cashing it in around the trade deadline, then maybe they jump on that opportunity.
Yeah, I could see that. Can we pull up the question again? I know there's a second part to this as well. Does the team standing at the deadline determine if they make a big move? Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
That was basically what Mike Hazen said at the beginning of the year, is success for our team in 2023 is being in a position to buy at the trade deadline. The Diamondbacks aren't going to
games in September.
Right. And the Diamondbacks are not going to go into the trade deadline buying regardless. If they're, if they're 10 games out or something like that at that point, or even maybe a little bit closer than that, I don't think they're going to do that. The future is too bright. They're not in a position to be trading prospect capital unless they really believe they're onto something.
They're not even in a position to be sellers, to be honest. They would probably stay pretty stagnant because I don't think that they have a lot of pieces that they need to move, like free agents that are going to be, or guys that are going to be free agents at the end of the season that they might lose and things like that. So there isn't a sense of urgency for the Diamondbacks to now all of a sudden do something drastic with their young core if they're not doing well at the trade deadline. But
that's like the baseline assumption that people make a lot.
You have to be one or the other, right?
Well, yeah, and just that the Diamondbacks are by default in that position. Like people who don't follow this team closely are like, oh, they lost 88 games last year. Let's come up with a list of guys who are free agents at the end of the year. Surely they'll be trying to pawn off these guys at the trade deadline, right? I don't think the D-backs really see it that way at all. I think that's kind of like a worst case scenario for them where they're trading guys. And like you said, they don't even have guys that, like, Nick Ahmed's a free agent at the end of the year. Mark Melanson's a free agent at the end of the year.
Bye.
I don't think you're going to get much for those guys in trades at this point, right? Lourdes Gurriel, maybe he could make a little bit of sense if the D-backs were in that position.
That's actually a really good call because he's most likely going to be a free agent. If they have no plans internally of trying to keep him as part of the team, he really could, especially if his bat gets hot again like it was last year.
Hitting the D-backs are out of it and he's hitting, then I think a contender would be interested in him. Other than that, there's just not a lot of
good selection. There. All right, what do we got, Damon? What else we got? Mr. D-back fan asks, what will happen to Jameson when Davies eventually comes back from his injury? Actually, we have quite a few questions about Jameson. Can we just run through those all together real fast? I think it's like 3. I think it's the next 3. With Drey heading the rotation, how big of an impact is that to the bullpen, especially with starters not getting deep in the game so far? That's from Jonathan Queller. Jacob asks, how many pitches do you expect Drey to throw in his first start? And if he kills it with Davies out, does he stick in the rotation? So we'll get to that first part of that question, but I feel like the big question here is what happens with Drey? What happens with Drey? Should he be a success now as a starting pitcher? Because so far, even though the numbers from the minor leagues tell us otherwise and the numbers from spring tell us otherwise, Drey Jameson has just been an outright competitor at a major league level so far in every facet that we've seen him, whether it was his role in the bullpen recently or his starts last season before the end of the year. So what happens if he does? Does he give Torrey a bad problem to have, or a good problem to have, I guess I should say, about deciding, what goes on in this rotation? Is there a possibility Davies comes back and maybe Bumgarner somehow gets pushed out if it's just too good to move Jameson at that time? Yeah,
there's a lot of interesting factors here. Bumgarner is one of them. I had that thought earlier today, actually, as I was kind of just thinking through this. Maybe when Zach Davies comes back, we talked about how Bumgarner, at least in my opinion, my own gut feeling is that Bumgarner won't be in this rotation very long. Maybe that just happens when Davies comes back. And if Drey Jameson is pitching well, then that just allows Jameson to continue in that role. And the D-backs, try to find something else for Bumgarner, whether that's in the bullpen or, paying him off or whatever that ultimately looks like. So I think that's possible. This is kind of a testing ground, though, for Drey Jameson. The D-backs have been very upfront that they still view Jameson as a starter. That's what they've said throughout this whole process, even as it looked very likely that Jameson was being turned into a shorter term reliever. That's kind of what they've said this whole time. And so now Jameson is getting that opportunity to prove what he can do in the rotation. If it goes well, I think they'll find a way to keep him there, no matter what, just with the way that injuries work, whether Bumgarner is struggling, like I said before. If he isn't doing so well, though, I wouldn't be surprised if the Diamondbacks transitioned him back into being a reliever at that point. If he's just a little shaky and it kind of feels like the arsenal plays better in the bullpen than in the rotation, I don't think the D-backs are necessarily going to just ride it out with him for an entire season if it's not going well. If he can get back in the bullpen and give them what he's done in these first few games, we've already seen that be really valuable for them.
All right, what else we got? Oh, wait, no, hold on. Let's not go ahead. I think it was Jacob Schultz's question was, how many pitches do you expect Drey to throw in his first start? I don't know. He was fairly stretched out. I don't think that they're going to let him go too long. I would probably say they cap it around 85 would be my guess. But, I mean, we've seen him go as much as 60 plus, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think his first appearance, that was like 4 innings, was 66 pitches. Second appearance was 38 pitches. His most recent one was only 26. So at the beginning of the season, when he was still fully stretched out from spring training, then yeah, I think 85 would have been right there. Now that he only threw 26 in his last one, I would doubt the D-backs would ramp it all the way up to 85 in his first start. Torrey, I believe, was asked this yesterday, either before or after the game, and he didn't really give a specific answer. He basically just said, more than you think. You can give us more length than you would think after throwing 26 pitches in his last outing.
I believe it.
Maybe it's like 60-ish. That would be like my very rough estimate, but hard to say for sure.
I would not be surprised because Drey Jameson is just one of those guys that wants the ball, but it's baseball. So you can only go so long with a guy that's not fully stretched out, no matter how much fire is in their blood. But I mean, I think that this is a good problem to have. And let's be honest, if Drey does a good enough job, I feel like he's deserved it. I feel like he's earned it already. He's been such a integral part of their wins so far.
Yeah.
It begs the question that what do they do in the bullpen? How does it impact the bullpen? What kind of gap now does he leave for Torey Lovullo? I think Lovullo's just loved the flexibility of having a guy like that out there, especially considered, like one of the questions said, the starters are not going very long. I mean, Merrill had a 3 2/3 start. You know, some of these guys aren't going longer than 4 innings, and this bullpen would be fairly taxed by this point had it not been for Drey Jameson's ability to go long out of the pen.
That's so true. Yeah, that's a great point. I remember a few weeks ago before the season started, Torrey was talking about how the D-backs might not have a true long man, how they might just, if every guy is able to give you 2 innings on occasion or 1+, you can kind of piece it together. But yeah, with how short some of these outings have been, D-backs would probably be in a pretty tough spot in some of those games if Drey Jameson hadn't been there.
Man, you ain't lying. All right, what else we got, Damon? Oh, good Lord, Chris, what is happening here? Chris sent us a book.
I knew it was a big mistake when Twitter went up to 280 characters.
See, this definitely proves it right now. You're using the character limit, Chris, 100%. But let's take a look at what she says. 10 games in seems like a fine place to check on changes this season. How are we feeling about? And basically, she's asking us about all the new rules. All of them. And then she also says, and for funsies, add some older ones in there, like Buster Posey rule, mound limit, visit limit, 3 batter minimum, universal DH. God.
There's like an hour and a half
long show. I know, this is an entire show, Chris. What in the hell? Okay, so let's start off by saying that I want to address the older rules, right? Because some of these are things people have absolutely hated already. We've seen it in the past seasons. The Buster Posey rule about not blocking the plate, mound visit limits, fine, make the games faster. 3 batter minimum, still not a huge fan of that. But again, it's made the game move along faster.
I'm a big fan of the 3 batter minimum.
Because again,
it was so dumb.
To bring a guy in for one single batter.
All right, we got the righty for the righty. Then we're going to bring in our lefty to face the lefty. Yep. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is not a very watchable product.
No, you're right. And then again, that's the thing that these are the things that they've talked about people hating, right? Just all of the downtime that's there. Yeah. And all of that has created this gap from what baseball time of games used to be to what they are now. Universal DH, nobody fucking hates that. Everybody loves the universal DH, just like everybody should love the pitch clock. But we've talked about this. We brought up Jeff Passan's tweet. We brought up the improvements in the game. Stolen bases way up. Batting average and slash lines just kind of up on average just a little bit. Time of game down 25 minutes across the board. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. You're still getting your 3-hour games. You're still getting your weird sub 2-hour games. Like baseball is still going to have a way to kind of even itself out. But if we can land somewhere in that 2-hour and 40-minute range for baseball games, that's such a better place to be than when we were at 3 hours plus.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to go deeper on some of these things at some point because I feel
absolutely.
like I truly could talk about some of these things for a pretty long time. But my initial thought on the shift ban and just what we've seen from that so far doesn't make a huge difference, if I'm being honest. Just casually observing, I don't think you notice it that much. It's not like every lefty comes in and singles through the hole every time.
Right.
Teams are still able to shift. That's the other big part of this. Like, you still see teams like stretching the limits of the shift restrictions, trying to get their infielders in as ideal of a position as possible.
There was big chatter about Perdomo the other day because Perdomo was so close to second base. You couldn't be any closer than he was without violating the rule, right? But here was the thing that we found out. There's an umpire right there, and Perdomo was checking in with the umpire, basically being like, "This okay?" And he's like, "Yep." And that's it. Like, it's that simple. There's a guy there. He's right close to you. He can see where second base is. He can see where the midpoint is that you can't cross, and that's it. So, like, you're always gonna see teams finding a way to circumvent these rules in some way or get as much of an advantage as they can. But the one beautiful part about the Arizona Diamondbacks is it really feels like they've found a way, especially when it comes to their movement and their speed on the base path, to really take advantage of these rules, especially for them. They are putting pressure on opposing defenses in a way that is causing them to make mistakes on routine plays that they normally wouldn't make these mistakes on. And it's based on the speed and honestly the aggressiveness of Torey Lovullo and his base running.
Yeah. Somehow all roads lead back to the D-backs base running.
Everything leads back about.
We're talking about Corbin Carroll running the bases the next minute. I'm sure we have more thoughts on those things that we'll expand on at some point. But pitch clock is great. The other things, good, but like don't make that much of a difference necessarily. I think left-handed hitters, the batting average on balls in play for lefties, specifically on line drives, has gone up. It actually hasn't changed much from what I've heard on ground balls, which is interesting. We'll definitely take a deeper dive into that at some point, but no gripes here with really any of those changes, honestly.
Nope. What else we got, David? TR Cogs asks, how does it feel knowing we don't have to play the Dodgers for 3 months? Fantastic. But like Jesse said, right now, the feeling is like, can we get them a couple more times right now while they're vulnerable, while they're down?
Kick them while they're down a little more, right?
Right, yeah. So I get that, but no, it feels great. It feels like there isn't that because what we've seen
4 months, isn't it?
It's
April,
August.
April 10th
basically
to August 8th,
just under 4 months.
Basically 4 months.
Yeah. I think for me, the idea is that in the past, what I've seen is the Diamondbacks get on a roll and then run into the Dodgers and then have their season fall apart for the next 2-3 weeks. I can't explain it, but I still think about that 4-game trip to Chavez Ravine last year where everything fell apart for the Diamondbacks after that point. They were on such a good roll. They get swept in 4 games against the Dodgers at home. And then it was like they just couldn't get back on track. It was almost like they reset to the offensive struggles that they had early on in the season last year, except they weren't walking as much as they were early on in the season. So it truly felt like everything unraveled. That part about it, I'm happy to not see them again. It's not like they won't see any NL West. There's Giants and there's Colorado Rockies. There's a lot of those games in between.
The two teams that are actually not that good in the NL West. Those are the two teams the D-backs haven't seen any of, and we'll see a decent amount of over the next few months.
But yeah, no, I'm good with it. I'm okay with not seeing the Dodgers for a while. I'm okay with not seeing Freddie Freeman's face in the batter's box.
Freddie Freeman, gosh, that guy I need to look up the numbers again, but.
He had 9 hits in the series or something like that.
Freddie Freeman in his career at Chase Field is batting nearly 400. Not an exaggeration.
That's stupid.
It is insane how much that man loves to hit at Chase Field.
Yep. All right. What else we got? I am still hungry 95 on Twitter asks, did the Diamondbacks break the Dodgers? Maybe. I hope they did. I really hope they did. I hope the Dodgers, I hope all the bad things in the world happen to the Dodgers and nobody but the Dodgers. How about that?
They did break Austin Barnes yesterday.
They sure did.
That's one person they did break yesterday.
Yeah, you ain't lying. But honestly, it's a good thing to see. I mean, the Dodgers are going through it, and we've talked about that. Like the Dodgers not only didn't really rearm themselves this offseason like they normally did, but they have some key injuries that are going to impact them this entire season. So if there was a time for the Diamondbacks to see them as being vulnerable and strike, this right now seems like a pretty damn good time.
Yeah. The bullpen for the Dodgers is the one thing out of that series that really stuck out to me is this could be a problem for them.
Yeah,
Like I'm not concerned about their offense at all. I still think it's outstanding,
even with the injury losses.
Yeah, their starting pitching. Noah Syndergaard isn't great. I mean, like I've said before, I never necessarily expected him to be all that great. Those kind of starts are going to happen. Clayton Kershaw, he had a not great outing in that series. I don't think they're concerned about him either. Michael Grove is kind of a placeholder for Tony Gonsolin, like we said before. You're not really concerned about their rotation. I think their offense is going to continue to be spectacular. But the bullpen was like, oh man, like this is rough. I mean, it feels like every guy the Dodgers bring in is just getting utterly shelled by this Diamondbacks offense. Certainly still too early to make any big conclusions there, but that could really be an issue for the Dodgers. And, I have a hard time, honestly, after seeing that, agreeing with MLB.com, ranking them third or something like that. Still really early to be doing a whole lot of shifting in the power rankings, but the bullpen looks like it might be a pretty big problem for them.
Alan Sergio said, I'm really worried about Bally Sports' situation. Arizona have great prospects to extend. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., La Pena, extension incoming. I would love that. I really would. I really do like Lourdes and what he brings to this team. And we are also worried about the Bally Sports situation, to be honest. We know how big of an impact this is on the Diamondbacks' ability to spend. And if the situation doesn't get rectified, it's not going to get rectified. They are not, the Diamondbacks flat out are not going to receive the compensation that they thought they were going to at one time due to this deal. And that's just a fact.
Yeah, they eventually did make their rights payment to the Padres, I believe. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Guardians as well. But they, as far as we know, still have not made their rights payment to the Diamondbacks, which basically is their way of saying our deal with the Diamondbacks is a bigger disaster for us financially than our deal with the Padres. So, which, I mean, isn't necessarily a huge surprise. So we'll certainly keep you all updated as more information comes out on that story. But for now, the games are on. Right? Broadcast is still there.
Everybody keeps asking us that. We've had several tweets consistently throughout the last week, people asking us where it is. I will just say, Bally Sports has 2 channels. So if there's a Suns game that is going to start at any point during the Diamondbacks game, most likely the Suns game will be on Bally Sports Arizona.
The main channel.
Yeah, the main channel. And the Diamondbacks game will be on the extra channel. So I that's the best I can give you. I do use the Bally Sports app myself with a sign-in from DirecTV. So if you do have the channel on DirecTV or Cox, you can do that as well. I don't know outside of that, but it seems like these games, or at least the content, is going to get easier to watch because if you're a fan of the minor league system, you can now watch that on Bally Gaming app, which, by the way, is a different app than the Bally Sports app. If you have the Bally Sports and you're expecting to find the minor league games on there, you will not. It is on the Bally Gaming app, like the casino. So you should be able to find all 120 minor league teams on that app. I feel like this is a good season to watch baseball. That's just my feeling. But what else we got, Damon? What's more surprising, Geraldo Perdomo's fast start or Jake McCarthy's slow one? Good question. I would say Jake McCarthy's slow one, in my opinion. Geraldo Perdomo has quietly been better and better and better, getting better and better. I mean, he had a lot of playing time last year with Nick Ahmed out. We already dubbed him our wrist king for a good reason, and that's because when no one else is carrying this offense, Geraldo Perdomo is carrying this offense. But I mean, so far so good for Perdomo. I think that maybe splitting playing time with Nick is a good thing for him. He doesn't have that pressure to be their starting shortstop. They've moved him around and played him at second already. That lineup yesterday, both Jesse and I were floored by what that lineup looked like, and then they put up the runs that they put up against the Dodgers. So, I mean, we're wrong. We're wrong sometimes, and that's okay. But Geraldo Perdomo, I mean, he's proven us wrong so far quite a bit over the last season. I think Jake's slow start is probably a bit concerning, but Jake McCarthy also kind of had a slow start last year. He's kind of gotten out of the box a little slow. I think that
he got sent down twice before eventually staying.
That was last year, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So again, these are still very young guys, and I mean, when we're talking about that, we mean age, experience, professional baseball games. They just don't have a lot under their belt, but you're seeing them. I feel like you're seeing them come along very quickly, especially Perdomo.
Yeah. I mean, Geraldo Perdomo in his career has been worth 1.5 wins above replacement. 0.6 of that, so basically half, is this season in 22 plate appearances. He's literally provided about as much value in the last 7 games that he's played as he had in the preceding 140. So he's been outstanding. I don't want to take a shot at Jake McCarthy. I think he's going to bounce back and be fine when it's all said and done. But to answer the question, I'm more surprised that Geraldo Perdomo has had this extraordinary start than I am that Jake McCarthy's been a little bit slower out of the gate. We talked about a little bit over the offseason how Jake McCarthy's batted ball numbers from last year were not great. There's a lot of blue across the board on his baseball savant page. He didn't really hit the ball very hard. He really used his legs a lot, which is a good thing for him and something that's certainly going to be there for him, but maybe not quite to the degree that it helped him out last year. So, yeah, I mean, Geraldo Perdomo has just been insane. He's hitting .438, right, to start the season. So, for me, that's the more surprising of the two.
All right. Well, we want to give a shout out to our friends at Mountain Mike's. If you haven't done so already, make sure to grab yourself a Mountain Mike's. Wonderful food over at Mountain Mike's. Also, if you're sign up for a PHNX Diehard membership, Mountain Mike's will give you a $50 voucher upon signing up. Head over to mountainmikespizza.com or to their Mesa, Chandler, or Tucson location to place your next order. Reminder once again that new diehards get that $50 voucher upon signing up. If you haven't done so already, make sure to sign up for the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. I don't know what you're waiting for. It's the best value, this YouTube channel, best place to get your content. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. Leave us a thumbs up, and it makes us feel good about ourselves and about our efforts that we're putting forth. We don't have Tori Lobello here to pat us on the back, so you guys have to do that with your thumbs up. But grab that diehard membership. That way you get that $50 voucher for Mountain Mike's. You also get access to all sorts of wonderful content, including Jesse's Full Count newsletter. You also get free merchandise from the PHNXlocker.com, free hat or t-shirt of your choosing, as well as 20% off all future purchases. You also get access to our members-only Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. You get discounts with our partners. You get members-only invites to events, as well as members-only merchandise. So sign up today over at gophnx.com and join the family here at PHNX. But before we get on to more mailbag questions, we have to talk about our friends from MOR Furniture. MOR Furniture is what you want to buy for your home. Again, I pulled the curtain back too much. And by the way, Jesse over here does not have as many Chase Lounges in his house as I've led on to believe. But we're still picking one out for him. And of course, you can send him all suggestions. Go over to morefurniture.com. Save big on the best furniture in the Valley when you head to morefurniture.com. And don't forget to grab their white glove delivery service, where they will absolutely set up your furniture however you want it in your house. And you never have to lift a finger. Let's get on to some more mailbag questions presented by our friends at MOR Furniture. What do we got, Damon?
I think you forgot to say that Mount 500 is brought to us by Mountain Mike.
Oh, right? I absolutely. Let's take a step back. Yeah. We do. Yeah, right. Yeah. Being over Mount 500, surpassing the summit and being up at the top is brought to us by Mountain Mike's. Let's get that graphic up there one more time, David. Can we get Cattell going up the mountain? Let's go, Cattell! Oh!
I had a feeling we couldn't make it through a show without using that.
No, thank you.
So I just set you up for it to get it out of the way.
Thank you very much. All right, what else we got? Casey on Twitter asks, how concerned should we be about the pitching woes and the future of our pitching, since it is by far the weakest area of our farm system? It's a very good question. I think we should be fairly concerned. I don't think that obviously not all of your starting pitching depth and everything is always going to come from the guys you bring up in the farm system. And to be honest, I think in my humble opinion, the Diamondbacks have an incredible 1-2-3 setup already in Brandon Pfaadt, Drey Jameson, and Ryan Nelson. And I think they're very much the future of this team. So you're still going to add guys through free agency. You're still going to add guys in other ways. I am concerned, though, for the pitching this year. I am concerned about the start Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, and Madison Bumgarner have all had. Zach Davies being injured doesn't help because he was pitching fairly well in his first start, and we don't know how long he's going to be out of the lineup for. So that just puts that pressure now on the rest of the guys to perform, puts that pressure on Jameson moving out of the bullpen and Lobello not having that guy. So, I mean, it's a concern. However, I'm very excited about how well the bullpen has done so far. And I think that they do have more guys that they can count on this season than they did all of last year, pitching well out of the bullpen. So as long as that can continue to happen, I think starting pitching can kind of have its ups and downs. I don't think starting pitching needs to be, on point and be as good as we saw them for that stretch last year when I think the entire rotation had like a sub-2 ERA. You're just not going to recreate that. And that was a very odd stretch for this team of everybody being very good, including Madison Bumgarner being a part of that.
Yeah, I will say, like, if the Diamondbacks are going to, make the playoffs a year early, right? Which is kind of how a lot of people would be thinking about it if they were to get there this year. I think you need your starting rotation to at least be around league average, right? It's hard to win 87, 88, whatever the number is, games when your rotation is subpar, like it's been so far, right? The Diamondbacks starting rotation through 10 games has an ERA of 5.88. That's not great. In 49 innings, they've given up 50 hits. They have 33 walks compared to 38 strikeouts. So pretty much the same number of walks and strikeouts through 2 turns through the rotation. We talked about it yesterday. We can be pretty blunt and say the D-backs rotation has been flat out very bad to start the season, and they've been able to win games anyway for the time being. But in the long term, you're going to need that to get better.
When we are saying the phrase noted D-backs ace Zach Davies, something is wrong. Something has gone drastically wrong.
Well, now he's about to be on the injured list. So, if he was your noted ace, you'd sort of be in trouble. And he also didn't pitch particularly well in his last start either. So we're just holding on to that 1 5-inning, 1-run outing from Zach Davies is like the only truly good start that any Diamondback starter has had this season.
It's not wrong.
It's not great.
All right, what else we got? Evan Bell asks, how much of a concern is the rotation this early in the season? Same thing. I think we were meaning to bundle those up together as well because, a lot of the questions you guys have are valid concerns. And I mean, I think that there is some concerns. I think the one thing that you could say about both the offensive struggles we saw early on before these last 2 games against the Dodgers and the starting pitching is the Diamondbacks are still finding a way to win games. Right. So if these things are so bad right now and they're still finding a way to win games, it's going to turn just like when they were doing so well last year. We had this sense of dread that things were going to turn and go the other way because it's baseball. It rarely does it always go in that very good direction for the entire time. Eventually you come back down to earth in one way or another. And in this case, it's kind of going down. So it feels like if the starting pitching can get better, offense can get rolling, that this team is going to be even better than we've seen. And that was 500 baseball. So if they can be better than that, the sky is the limit potentially for this team. I mean, imagine Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly getting back on that role that they were for a couple of months in May or April or May last year. That would completely change the dynamic of this team alone. So, at the very least, since they're struggling, there is room for them to turn it around. And if they do, maybe we'll see even more success than we've seen to this point where they are 2 games over 500.
Yeah, Zach Gallen, like we said yesterday, like to see him bounce back a little bit today against the Brewers. I know those first couple starts have not gone well. We've wondered about whether the pitch clock is playing some sort of a role there, potentially with Merrill Kelly too. He has talked about feeling a little bit rushed by the whole thing.
They hate it. They hate it.
Yeah, they kind of,
They hate it.
I mean, I understand.
That's like what I want. I want them to get out of this first month where they stop fucking worrying about hating it, right? Like where you just get into a point where like, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, you're not happy about it, right? But you stop internally griping. You stop going over to Merrill in the clubhouse and bitching about your little complaints with it in the last game or before your next start or whatever, right? And I'm not saying that happens, but what I'm saying is they've been very vocal about not liking the pitch clock, and that can only translate over to them thinking about it in their starts, after their starts, before their starts, because they're bringing it up to us unprompted.
Yeah, and that's kind of part of what Major League Baseball expected too with the whole pitch clock thing is like, yeah, some guys will adapt right away, it'll be fine. But a lot of guys will struggle and very much dislike it early on. And this goes for hitters too. I saw a video of Juan Soto yesterday talking about how he really didn't like the feel of the pitch clock in the batter's box and just having to feel like you're rushed and you can't slow the game down. You have to kind of adapt to the pace of the game.
Good. I want him to not like it. I want him to hate it.
Yeah, for
I
Juan
want him to hate it the
Soto,
whole season.
for the D-backs, that works out very nicely. But yeah, there's an adaptation period, and it's still very, very early in these guys trying to figure out what it's like to pitch with this new clock thing that we have going on.
All right. What else we got? John Greeneye asks, for every 9 years the D-backs have got new uniforms. 98 to 2006 was the purple to teal era. 2007 to 2015 was the Sonoran era. 2016 to present would be, I guess, I don't know, Evolution Nike era with the snake scales and things like that. There's been a couple of uniforms in that time. And then he asks, 2025 new uniforms? I don't know. I will say that it feels very much like we're going to get new uniforms next year. It very much feels like there's a color scheme thing happening in the team shop. That's what
teal is definitely taking over a little.
Teal is taking over the ballpark for sure. There's teal everywhere. But when you go and look at some of the clothing items, Jesse, that they have in the team shop, I saw a lot of red, purple, and teal, which is a really interesting combination, to be honest, but looked a lot better than I thought together than it did.
Red, purple, and teal.
Yeah. They had the Sedona red, the purple, and the teal. They had like Sedona red still is kind of like a main color, and then like it was like purple and teal accents to go with it. It was a good look. I'm not going to lie. Again, it's weird sometimes when you see colors that you wouldn't think go together well. I have personally been kind of floored by how much I like the Sedona red and the teal together. I think it looks good. I don't know if you guys saw our new logo on Twitter, but we are all on board with Twitter around this place. But what do you think? Do you think New Jersey, like it does feel like New Jerseys are on the horizon very soon. We know the Cardinals are getting New Jerseys this year. So maybe next year is the Diamondbacks year for New Jerseys. Yeah,
I mean, I kind of wondered at one point, like maybe the 25th year anniversary, they would switch things up.
Or at least just go back. Just do maybe 1 year of the throwbacks. Maybe, you know what I mean? Just fully convert just for one season.
There's no way they're going to do that. Could you imagine if they converted back to the old uniforms for 1 year and then they just decided to revert back to Sedona Red after that? That would have been more of a disaster than not ever going back. We
got to talk about the Tony Womack jersey. Jesse and I were walking behind a guy the other day with a purple Tony Womack jersey.
It was glittery.
It was the most beautiful goddamn thing we'd ever seen. I'm sure this guy didn't hear us, but if he did, he probably would have thought we were creeps because we were literally just behind him like, look at how perfect that shimmering is in the lead, because the numbers were like sand colored, but they were glittery, like what we talked about with the Mariners jerseys. It looked like beautiful sand on a perfect beach. It was the exact kind of thing the Diamondbacks should be going for. Oh, there was just awesome with the teal, like the teal triangles accents and the Tony Womack and the purple. I was just in love with it. In love with it.
Didn't they get rid of the purple and teal because it was a little too flashy? So that's why they went to the red?
No, I believe it was two reasons. One, I think Ken Kendrick taking over the team as the primary owner wanted a completely different change as far as the color scheme went.
No, I didn't know that.
And I do also think, because it coincided when he took over the team, and I think they also wanted to get away from purple due to the Rockies.
Yeah, that part I've heard.
That part makes sense because those are like the two purple teams in the league.
Yeah, so they looked around the National League West essentially and determined there was no red. There was no sand, so they decided to go to like red, black, and sand and white as their.
There are totally other divisions though that have multiple red teams.
Multiple red teams,
right?
Yeah.
So that just doesn't hold much weight, right? Like that.
I think it was just the focus, because almost you can find a color every team is using, right? But like, look at the Mariners. That color that the Mariners are of teal green or whatever they are, that's just like, if you see that color somewhere else, you're like, that's Mariners green. You know what I mean?
It's unique.
It's unique, right?
And they tried to make the Diamondbacks red unique by calling it Sedona red and having it be a little bit like, it's not like Cincinnati Reds red.
Correct. It's a dark red.
It's a little
you just
darker,
made it hard for me to match it to my shoes. That's what you made it hard. You made it hard for me to find things that are that same fucking color is what you did. What else we got? But yes, New Jersey is coming. We believe it. We believe. Gabriel says, based off these first 10 games, will the D-backs fast track a contract extension for Lovullo, or will they wait and see where they are at the end of the year? God, I hope so.
Really good question.
It is a really good question, because we have no clue, and there's no information we have to base this off of. But I will say, based on my love of Torey Lovullo, that I think that it's an absolute must. Now, this is still early on, right?
But yeah, so, when?
Right.
That's the tricky part.
If they continue this level of success, let's say they continue this level of hovering above 500 a couple of games, how long does it go for?
Yeah. Right? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't think the D-backs would wait until really close to the end of the season. That would just be an odd look.
Like I would say even before the All-Star game, we could see it if they continue this level of success, right?
I mean, given what we said earlier about Mike Hazen basically setting the bar for success at being in position to buy at the trade deadline, it kind of feels like in his eyes, he'll know whether the season is a success about halfway through the season.
Yeah.
And so maybe at that point, if things are looking good and the D-backs are, in the playoff mix enough at that point, I would think the D-backs would make the move then. If they don't bring him back, then obviously, that's just something. I would be somewhat surprised if they fired him during the season. But if things really turn south, I mean, I guess that could happen too. It's pretty hard to say.
Last question we got on Mailbag Monday comes from my best friend, Neo. Neo asks, which current or former Arizona Diamondback should one day grace the cover of MLB The Show? Obviously, it's Corbin Carroll. That's the only answer. If you're going, Randy Johnson, Corbin Carroll, past, present. I feel like that's your choices, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Zach Gallen, maybe.
I guess, right? If Jazz Chisholm is on there, then you know that Zach Gallen's got to be gunning for it too. Right. But yeah, I mean, I do think like players on the way. Like I could see a universe with Drew Jones on an MLB The Show cover. Obviously, it's way too early to be making actual statements like that. It's not. But like you could see it, right? Like Drew Jones has the ceiling of being the transcendent superstar type.
Yeah. Sure.
So you could at least see that happening, but I don't know.
Well, we appreciate you guys being here. Of course, if you get a chance, stop by our friends at Circle K. Fill yourself up, fill your car up with all sorts of snacks. We got teal and red snacks right here. So there's your color scheme right there for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I love cherry sours, but you
more of a turquoise, isn't it? Like
he's like this. He's never not like this. The show, when we text message, when we call him, he's always like this. But you guys stay fueled up over at Circle K. Grab yourself iced coffee. They got Red Bulls 3 for $8, Monsters 3 for $6. All sorts of wonderful things to make sure not only is your car fueled up, but you're fueled up. Make sure you're not missing out on all this great stuff over at Circle K. Head to circlek.com/store locator. That's circlek.com/store-locator to find Circle K's near you. And while you're there, pick up some Four Peaks beer. Grab Four Peaks. It's the best local beer you can find in the Valley. Be sure to follow them on social at Four Peaks Brew to get all the latest on Arizona's premier craft brewery. And join us for our NFL draft party. There will be NFL draft beer specials, including $3 Redbird Lager pints, $5 Redbird Redbird Lager pitchers, so much more. We got our usual $3 kilt lifters and wild pints, so much more. The best place to take on the NFL draft on April 27th is at Four Peaks 8th Street Pub. Register for free in the link in our show notes to take advantage of beer specials. Must be 21 years or older to enjoy, and enjoy responsibly. We thank you guys so much for being here today in the chat. We thank you guys so much for rooting for the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cardinals. Well, I was still in the middle of that whole Cardinals read. But Diamondbacks, Cardinals, Suns, Coyotes, go everybody. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for joining us. And on behalf of this entire crew of misfits, we thank you. We appreciate you. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when Drey Jameson is in the starting lineup.